so many people today wonder how biblical prophecy relates to the events we see around us. Let me give you a clear framework. Number one, prophecy as pattern. Many prophecies had an immediate meaning in Israel's history, but they also point forward to larger patterns or types that illustrate timeless truths. For example, when Daniel had his visions in the book of Daniel, he saw empires rise and fall, and he saw the Ancient of Days receive a kingdom that will never end. Now, some people read those prophecies and think, oh, wow, what does it mean for me today? But Daniel didn't have a message for us 2,000 years later. He had a message for the people of his day, God's people scattered throughout the empire of his day. And so, as we read Daniel, we should recognize that, yes, there's a word for us, but there was also a word for him. We see the same thing over and over again in Scripture where God speaks through the prophets about judgment coming on Judah or on Israel because they've forgotten God. But at the same time, those words of judgment also speak of a larger truth. That's what the prophet Isaiah was getting at when he said, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil." That's a pattern that will continue throughout history. It's not just about my day or your day, but it's about every day. So right now, as we see global powers and as we see political shifts, let's remember that no empire is permanent. Only God's kingdom is eternal. Number two, signs of the times. In Matthew chapter 24, Jesus warned of wars, famines, earthquakes, and false messiahs. Now, these things don't always mean the end is near, but they do mean we need to be spiritually alert. So right now, as we see natural disasters and pandemics and global conflicts, let's remember Jesus' words and let's not be caught off guard. Instead, let's prepare our hearts. Number three, moral and spiritual decline. In 2 Timothy chapter 3, Paul wrote that in the last days, people would be lovers of self, greedy, boastful, disobedient, without love. When I read that, I think of the world we live in today with rampant corruption, broken families, and a generation that's lost its way. We might not be living in the last days, but we certainly see trends that Paul described 1,000 years ago. And number four, hope in prophecy. Prophecy isn't just about doom, it also promises restoration. The prophets looked forward to a day when God would pour out his peace, when justice would flourish, and when God would reign. And in Revelation, John looked forward to a new heaven and a new earth where God would wipe away every tear. So in the midst of our struggles and our pain, let's remember God is working toward a time of ultimate renewal. So here's the takeaway for us today. Prophecy doesn't give us exact headlines to the news, but it does give us spiritual lenses through which we can view current events. It reminds us that history is not random. God is weaving his plan through the wars and the pandemics, the politics, and the personal struggles we face. And so let's be ready and discerning and faithful, knowing that all prophecy points us to Christ, who is the center of history and the hope of the world.